So picture this, Sarah. It's a humid June night in 1971, and the kind of night where the air feels like warm soup at Willys Park. Up on Hillcrest Avenue in Toledo, a 19-year-old girl is floating naked in a public pool, just trying to cool off, and she thinks she's alone.
Then flashlight, 2 cops. And instead of a ticket, they offered her a deal she could not refuse.
And that deal would explode into one of the most shocking police scandals in Ohio history.
Welcome back to Talking Trash and Tacos, guys. Grab your drink, grab your snack, because this one is going to make you angry.
That's Sarah.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Jessica. And let's roll the clock back to summer of 71, which I wish I was around in the 70s, but then again, maybe not, because a lot of crime did happen and was not found out.
Hitchhiking, murders, serial killers.
So who is Diana? Diana Mullins wasn't just some girl. She was a product of North Toledo's rougher edges, already divorced at 19 years old, living out of her car in the Willys parking lot, scraping by in a city that didn't have much use for homeless teenagers.
They called her magic, maybe because she had some, maybe because she thought she could disappear. But Jessica, the park itself, it wasn't random. Willys Park sat in the 5 Point neighborhood, named after its Willys Overland Motors Company that once powered Toledo's whole economy.
So by 1971, those glory days were fading, but the pool still drew crowds on sweltering summer days. After hours, it became Diana's private oasis.
Until it wasn't.
Yeah.
June 1971 was the first encounter. Diana slips into the pool after dark, strips down to nothing, no swimsuit, no money to buy one, just the water and the night. It was a very hot night for June, which is odd, but...
Yeah. Okay. The flashlight hits her. There's 2 officers. She's trapped, literally naked, vulnerable, with no escape that wouldn't expose her completely.
Their proposal, sex for freedom, handcuffs, fondling, the whole degrading negotiation. And when they finished,
they told her they'd be back. Spoiler alert, Sarah, they weren't lying. So, the secret society. Okay. Here's where it gets wild. This wasn't just 2 bad apples. This became a system.
Yes. 25 to 30 squad cars showing up at Willys Park after midnight. Officers stripping down, swimming naked, taking turns with Diana. Pool parties organized by the very men sworn to protect the public.
Neighbors like Dorothy Johnson on Hillcrest later recalled hearing splashing at night and seeing the parade of police vehicles, never knowing the full horror of what was happening.
And here's the kicker, Jess, that makes my stomach sick. 8 of the 9 men eventually disciplined were married at the time this was happening. Fathers, husbands, men with families at home who risked everything for midnight swims with a teenage girl.
The blue wall wasn't just protecting bad cops, Sarah. It was protecting a whole culture at the time.
Now, Jessica, I know our listeners are already asking this. Why did Diana keep going back?
Well, let's be crystal clear about her reality. She was 19. She was homeless, sleeping in her car with no money, no support system, divorced in an era when that carried massive stigma. And she had no options.
Right. She later said some officers were, and I quote, kinder than the rest.
A heartbreaking glimpse into the psychology of survival. When your entire existence depends on the mercy of predators, you learn to categorize them, you rationalize, and you survive.
And when she refused, the retaliation was swift and petty. Speeding tickets for phantom violations, citations for loose bolts on her license plate, harassment that made clear.
So the explosion on July 14th,
My
1971. Whoop, whoop.
I wasn't born yet, 9 years.
No, but you were coming. Diana walks into police headquarters and demands to see the chief. She's had enough. She wants it to stop. I mean, can you imagine the trauma of this and like the mental mind?
Yeah, like not knowing if
it.
you're going to be retaliated on.
Yeah, it's like, what's going to happen tonight? Am I going to be raped by, 10 more guys? Am I going to have to just roll over and take this because otherwise they're going to pull me over, put me in jail? Like, screw that.
And here's where the story gets murky, Jess, and quite a bit more interesting. There are two versions of what happened next.
Version A, the official story. The chief knew nothing until Diana complained, and the scandal began with her bravery.
And then we have version B, Diana's claim. Undercover officers had already staked out Willys Park. They'd caught the police in the act. The scandal broke because it couldn't be contained anymore.
Yeah. Which version is true? The records are conveniently silent, but ask yourself, Sarah, in an era before body cams and cell phones, how many Dianas never got their day?
How many scandals did get buried?
So here's the fallout. July 21st, 1971, the Blade headline drops. Girl charges police with immorality.
Diana names 18 officers directly, but she says over 100 were involved.
I mean, at that time, that might be the whole force.
Right?
The department's response, silence and stonewalling. Most officers refused to testify. Many pled the fifth. Some called in sick to dodge the polygraph test, of course.
The blue wall of silence was brick solid in 1971. But the chief did recommend some punishments. Let me read you this list, Jessica, because it will make your blood boil.
Hit me with it.
4 officers. Sergeant Richard Langendorfer, career officer, somehow retired honorably in 1976. Robert Paquin, which I think I'm somehow marriage related to, resigned August of 1971, vanished from his records. Richard Moore, back on K-9 duty by 1974. And James Fugate, ghost after the case.
Okay, so that's frustrating, but dismissed sounds serious.
We're not done. Suspended 60 days, 5 officers. Richard Ohlers, who later rose to the captain and retired with commendations. Danielle Slayton served 30 plus years and retired.
It's Daniel, not Danielle. It's okay. I was like, no,
Okay.
Don't blame Danielle.
Okay. Daniel Slayton served 30 plus years, retired honorably. Charles Moore became a detective and retired in 1991, praised for his homicide work. And William Schwab, 22 years, no further discipline.
And I just want to point out while we're on this name, I want you to remember the name Richard Ohlers, because that will come in our next case of a missing girl that was never found.
Yeah.
Just
quite
key point to remember for next time. So, Sarah, a 60-day suspension for organized sexual exploitation of a vulnerable teenager. That's not punishment. That's a vacation.
Translation: most of these men went on to full careers. The punishment was a speed bump.
Literally. Diana's aftermath. So the harassment didn't stop with the headlines, Sarah. It intensified.
Her tires were slashed, bottles thrown at her car, 3 arrests in 1 month. Clearly retaliation.
With no options and no protection, and a city that had turned its back on her, Diana did what she had to survive. She became magic for real, working as a prostitute.
1972, convicted of soliciting. The victim became the criminal in the eyes of the law.
She left Toledo, moved to Detroit, and disappeared from history. Whether she found peace or just a different kind of struggle, we don't know.
The city that failed her never looked back.
Sarah, I need to drop a bombshell here. This wasn't even the first time.
What do you mean?
So 13 years earlier, 8 Toledo officers were suspended for sexual relations with a 16-year-old girl.
You are telling me that in 1971 scandal wasn't an aberration. It was patterns?
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely a culture. And the department had already shown it would tolerate this behavior. And the 1958 case barely made ripples.
So when city leaders in 1971 tried to reframe the scandal as a morale problem instead of a moral catastrophe, when they claimed officers were being harassed rather than held accountable.
Yeah, they were following a playbook. The only real reform, the department was finally forced to create an internal affairs bureau. Not because they wanted accountability, but because the scandal was too public to ignore.
Of course.
Yeah.
So here's where we leave our listeners with the hard questions.
So Diana was 19. She was homeless and trapped. Do you think she was believed, or was she branded a liar and a prostitute because of what she was forced to become?
8 of 9 disciplined officers were married family men. What does it say about power that these family men felt entitled to a teenage girl's body?
Most kept their jobs or retired honorably. Was this justice or a cover-up with better PR? It definitely was a cover-up with better PR.
Yeah. The 1958 president proves this wasn't new. How many other Dianas never made the papers?
Yeah. If this happened today with TikTok, body cams, and viral outrage, would it blow up bigger? Or would the blue wall still hold true?
That is a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it might blow up more just because you have so many independent diggers. And that's what we hope to do with our podcast is some of these make a difference, you know?
Definitely.
This shouldn't be happening. This should have never happened. And I guarantee it's probably
more
still
prevalent
happening
than we understood. And I think it still does now, but it's kind of hidden a bit more. Like it's not as brazen and bold as it used to be.
And Toledo has never been short on scandals. What other dark corners of Glass City history need the flashlight treatment?
Yeah, we want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts, your stories, and your own Toledo history in the comments.
And one last haunting detail before we go.
Willys Park still stands today. The pool still operates in summer. Families bring their kids. Teenagers splash and laugh.
But on humid July nights, when the crickets are loud and the water is still, locals who know the history say you can almost hear it. The echo of sirens, the splash of midnight swimmers, the silence of a city that looked away.
Diana Magic Mullins deserved better, and history owes her the truth.
That's all for today's episode of Talking Trash and Tacos. I'm Sarah.
And this is Jessica. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and we'll catch you next time.